The emergency sirens blared through the corridors of the ESS Pioneer. Red warning lights flashed as the ship shook violently. "Brace for impact!" Captain Kim Doyen shouted over the comm system. His knuckles turned white as he gripped the command chair. Lieutenant Han Jiwoo tightened his safety harness. The ship's hull groaned as it entered the atmosphere of the uncharted moon. No one had planned to visit this place. A surprise meteor shower had damaged their engines, forcing them to find somewhere to land quickly. "Engine 3 is gone," called the engineer, Park Yoonju. Her voice remained steady despite the chaos. "We're coming in too fast." Jiwoo closed his eyes as the ship hit the ground. Metal tore, glass shattered. His head slammed against the wall and everything went black. When Jiwoo opened his eyes, smoke filled his lungs. He coughed and reached for his emergency mask. The escape pod had broken off from the main ship during the crash. Through the cracked viewport, he saw an alien landscape, purple rocks and strange blue plants under a green sky. "Captain? Yoonju? Anyone?" Jiwoo called into his comm unit. Only static answered. His leg hurt badly. A piece of metal had cut through his uniform, leaving a deep gash. Jiwoo bandaged it with supplies from the emergency kit and checked the pod's systems. The locator beacon worked, but the power cells were damaged. He had maybe 6 hours before it died. "They'll find me," he told himself. "Just need to stay alive until then." Grabbing the survival pack, Jiwoo climbed out of the ruined pod. The air was breathable according to his scanner, but thin. It felt like climbing a mountain on Earth. He took slow, deep breaths as he looked around. The main ship was nowhere in sight. The escape pod had traveled at least 10 miles from the crash site. Steep cliffs rose in the distance, offering possible shelter. With his injured leg, it would take hours to reach them. "One step at a time," Jiwoo muttered, wincing as he put weight on his leg. The alien sun beat down on him as he limped across the rocky ground. His water supply would last 2 days if he was careful. The beacon would guide rescuers to his location if they survived the crash. If by the time he reached the cliffs, Jiwoo's uniform was soaked with sweat. The sun was setting and the temperature dropped quickly. He found a cave entrance and scanned it for dangerous gases. Finding none, he stepped inside. The cave was surprisingly warm compared to the cooling air outside. Jiwoo set up a small light and explored the first chamber. It went deep into the cliff with several tunnels branching off. Perfect for shelter, but he would need to be careful not to get lost. Jiwoo chose a spot near the entrance, where rescuers might see his light. He ate half a ration bar, saving the rest for later. His leg throbbed painfully as he leaned against the wall, trying to rest. A strange sound echoed from deeper in the cave, like crystal glasses clinking together, but deeper. Jiwoo froze. He wasn't alone. Slowly, he reached for his blaster. The sound came again, closer this time. Jiwoo pointed his light toward the noise. 2 glowing eyes reflected the light. They were at least 7 feet off the ground. Jiwoo's heart pounded. He'd seen briefings about alien life, but nothing prepared him for this. The creature stepped forward, into the light. It stood nearly 12 feet tall. Its body was covered in crystalline plates that shimmered like opals. Sharp claws extended from massive hands. A row of spikes ran down its back. The face held no expression Jiwoo could read, just those glowing eyes and a mouth full of teeth like daggers. Jiwoo recognized it immediately. Every space explorer knew this creature from their training, a Kasir, the most feared predator in the known universe. The Galactic Federation had lost entire colonies to these monsters. They couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be tamed, couldn't be stopped except with heavy weapons, and Jiwoo had only a standard-issue blaster. The Kasir stepped closer. Jiwoo raised his weapon, knowing it would do little good. Then he noticed something. A dark liquid dripped from the creature's side. It was injured. The Kasir made that strange crystal sound again. It seemed to struggle to stand straight. Despite his fear, Jiwoo felt a pang of sympathy. "You're hurt too, huh?" he whispered. The creature tilted its head as if listening. It took another step forward. Jiwoo's finger hovered over the trigger. The sensible thing would be to fire, even if it only slowed the monster down. But something stopped him. The pain in his leg made him dizzy. The thin air left him lightheaded. Maybe that explained what he did next. Jiwoo lowered his weapon. He reached into his pack and pulled out the other half of his ration bar. "Hungry?" he asked, holding it out. The Kasir froze, its glowing eyes fixed on the food. Then slowly it extended one massive claw. Jiwoo held his breath. Every instinct screamed to run. But where could he go with his injured leg? The creature took the ration bar. Instead of eating it, it seemed to examine the food, turning it over carefully. Then it made a new sound, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You're welcome," Jiwoo said automatically. His mother had raised him to be polite, even when facing certain death. To his amazement, the Kasir backed away. It settled on the ground about 15 feet from him, still watching. It sniffed the ration bar and finally took a small bite. Jiwoo laughed nervously. "Not bad, right? Better than nothing." The creature continued eating. Jiwoo found himself talking, just to stay calm. "I'm Jiwoo, human, from Earth." He pointed to himself. "My ship crashed. I'm waiting for rescue." The Kasir made no sign it understood, but it didn't attack either. As the night grew colder, Jiwoo activated his thermal blanket. The Kasir watched, his every move. Its crystalline body caught the light from his lamp, creating rainbows on the cave walls. "You're actually kind of beautiful," Jiwoo murmured. "Like sunshine through a prism." He began to hum softly, an old folk song his grandmother used to sing. The familiar tune helped calm his nerves. To his surprise, the Kasir tilted its head again. It seemed to listen closely. Then it made a sound, not quite the same as Jiwoo's humming, but similar in rhythm. "Are you copying me?" Jiwoo asked in disbelief. He hummed another line. The Kasir responded with its crystal tones, matching the pattern. Jiwoo's eyelids grew heavy. Blood loss and exhaustion were taking their toll. He knew he shouldn't sleep near a Kasir, but he couldn't stay awake any longer. "If you're going to eat me, just make it quick," he mumbled as he drifted off. "Lieutenant Jiwoo, can you hear me?" Jiwoo opened his eyes. Sunlight streamed into the cave entrance. Captain Kim Do-yoon stood there with Park Yoon-ju, both wearing breathing masks and holding blasters. "Captain!" Jiwoo tried to sit up. "You're alive!" Their eyes weren't on him, though. Both stared in horror at something behind him. Jiwoo turned his head. The Kasir lay curled only a few feet away, its massive body between Jiwoo and the deeper cave tunnels. It had moved closer while he slept. "Don't move," Captain Do-yoon whispered. "We'll take it down on 3. "No." Jiwoo raised his hand. "Don't shoot. It's friendly." "That's impossible," Yoon-ju said. "Kasir don't do friendly. This one does." Jiwoo carefully sat up. The Kasir opened its eyes but made no threatening moves. "See? It could have killed me while I slept. Instead, it stayed with me." "That can't be," Do-yoon said, his weapon still raised. Jiwoo reached into his pack and pulled out his last ration bar. He broke off a piece and held it out. "Sonny, breakfast time." "Sonny?" Yoon-ju asked, confused. "That's what I'm calling it, because of how its scales shine in the light." The Kasir rose to its full height, towering over everyone. Do-yoon and Yoon-ju stepped back in fear, but the creature simply took the food from Jiwoo's hand with surprising gentleness. That's impossible," Yoon-ju whispered. "No one has ever tamed a Kasir." Jiwoo smiled weakly. "I don't think I tamed it. I think we just understand each other." As the rescue team helped Jiwoo to his feet, Sunny followed, keeping close like a protective guardian. No one in the galaxy would believe what they were seeing. Humans had just done the impossible, made friends with the most feared creature in the universe. The rescue shuttle hummed as it left the moon's atmosphere. Inside, Captain Kim Doyen kept his blaster aimed at the massive creature sitting calmly beside Lieutenant Han Jiwoo. "This goes against every protocol," Doyen said. His hand trembled, slightly. "We should have killed it." Park Yunju shook her head. The science officer hadn't taken her eyes off the Kasir since they found it with Jiwoo. "Captain, this is the scientific discovery of the century. No one has ever seen a Kasir behave this way." The Kasir, Sunny, as Jiwoo called it, made a soft clicking sound with its crystalline plates. Its glowing eyes moved between the humans. "It understands us somehow," Jiwoo insisted. His injured leg was now properly bandaged. "And I think I understand it a little too." "That's ridiculous," Doyen said. "The Federation has studied these monsters for hundreds of years. They're killers, nothing more." Jiwoo sighed. He couldn't explain the connection he felt with Sunny. When he hummed, the creature seemed to respond. When he was in pain, it stayed close as if protecting him. "The Federation rescue team will be at the rendezvous point in 6 hours, Yunju said, checking her tablet. "They're sending the battleship Horizon." "Good," Doyen nodded. "Their security team can handle this thing." Jiwoo frowned. "Sunny isn't a thing, and it's injured. Look." He pointed to the dark fluid still seeping from the Kasir's side. Yunju leaned forward with interest. "The wound doesn't seem to be healing properly. I'd like to study it." "Are you insane?" Doyen asked. "You want to play doctor with the deadliest predator in the universe?" "Captain," Yunju said firmly, "we have an opportunity no scientist has ever had. A non-aggressive Kasir. We should learn what we can." While they argued, Jiwoo began to hum softly. It was the same tune he had shared with Sunny in the cave. Kasir's body relaxed, and it made that wind chime sound again. "There, you see," Jiwoo said. "It likes music." Yunju's eyes widened. "Wait." She grabbed her scanner and pointed it at the Kasir as Jiwoo continued to hum. The device beeped rapidly. "That's amazing. The crystalline structures in its body are vibrating at the exact frequency of your humming." "What does that mean?" Doyun asked, still keeping his distance. "It means," Yunju said with growing excitement, "that the Kasir might communicate through vibrations that most species can't hear." She turned to Jiwoo. "But humans can hear them, and they can hear us, especially when we hum or sing. So I've been talking to it all along?" Jiwoo asked. "In a way, yes." Yunju adjusted her scanner. The Federation's attempts to study them always involved containment and force. No wonder they responded with violence. For the first time, Doyen lowered his weapon slightly. "If you're right, this changes everything we know about Kasir. The Federation battleship Horizon was massive compared to their small shuttle." As they docked, Jiwoo felt Sunny grow tense beside him. "It's okay," he said softly, placing a hand on the creature's arm. "They won't hurt you." The moment the airlock opened, armed soldiers rushed in. They wore heavy battle armor and carried pulse rifles, weapons designed specifically to penetrate Kasir crystal plating. "Step away from the Kasir," shouted their commander, a tall Zolarian with blue skin. Commander Thrax was known throughout the Federation as an expert Kasir hunter. Sunny rose to its full height, crystal plates shifting as if preparing for a fight. It made a sharp, angry sound. "Wait!" Jiwoo stepped between the soldiers and Sunny. "Don't threaten it. It's not dangerous unless you make it feel threatened." "Move aside, human," Thrax ordered. "That creature has killed thousands of my people. It's a mindless killer." "You're wrong," Yunju said, joining Jiwoo. "We've discovered something important about Kasir communication. If you'd just listen." "Secure the humans and terminate the beast," Thrax commanded his soldiers. 2 soldiers grabbed Jiwoo and pulled him away from Sunny. The Kasir roared, a sound like breaking glass mixed with thunder. It stepped forward, claws extended. "No!" Jiwoo shouted. Then he began to hum loudly, the same melody from the cave. Everyone froze. The Kasir paused, its glowing eyes fixed on Jiwoo. The crystal plates on its body vibrated slightly, creating a similar sound. "What is this?" Commander Thrax asked, confused. "It's how they communicate," Yunju explained quickly. through vibrations that match the frequency of human humming. Impossible, Thrax said. But he didn't give the order to fire as Sonny slowly calmed down. Captain Doyen stepped forward. Commander, I was skeptical too. But I've seen enough to believe there's more to the Kasir than we thought. This one protected Lieutenant Jiwoo. It could have killed him many times, but it didn't. Thrax studied the scene before him. A human humming to a Kasir, and the creature responding peacefully. Nothing in his 20 years of fighting these beasts had prepared him for this. The Federation Council will need to be informed, he said finally. Until then, all 3 of you are under quarantine. The Kasir will be contained in the high-security holding bay. I should stay with it, Jiwoo insisted. It trusts me. Out of the question, Thrax snapped. That thing is still a dangerous predator. Yunju spoke up. Commander, I believe separating them would be a mistake. If Lieutenant Jiwoo stays with the Kasir, it will remain calm. This gives us a unique opportunity to study it safely. After much argument, a compromise was reached. Jiwoo would stay in a section of the holding bay, separated from Sonny by a force field that could be activated if needed. Yunju would conduct her research from the safety of the observation room. 3 days passed aboard the Horizon. Yunju worked tirelessly, scanning the Kasir and recording its interactions with Jiwoo. She even developed a basic translator that could convert some Kasir sounds into meanings. The vibration patterns are like a language, she explained to Captain Doyen as they watched Jiwoo and Sonny through the observation window. Simple emotions mostly, but definitely communication. And the humming? Doyen asked. That's the key. Yunju showed him the data on her tablet. Lieutenant Jiwoo's habit of humming while he works creates harmonic patterns that the Kasir interpret as friendly communication. To them it sounds like their own kind, but in a non-threatening way. Inside the holding bay, Jiwoo sat cross-legged on the floor. The wound on his leg was healing well. Sonny lay nearby, its massive body curled in a surprisingly cat-like pose. Jiwoo had been teaching it simple games, like following patterns of light on the wall. Can you believe the Federation has been fighting these creatures for centuries? Yunju said. When all they needed to do was hum a tune and offer food? Doyen shook his head. The Council won't like this. They've invested too much in the war against Kasir. The Council needs to know the truth, a voice said behind them. Commander Thrax had entered silently. His expression was troubled. I've sent your findings to the highest levels of Federation government. They're disturbed. Disturbed? Yunju frowned. This is incredible news. We can potentially end centuries of conflict. Not everyone sees it that way, Thrax said grimly. Many species have built their military reputation on fighting Kasir. Weapons manufacturers have grown rich from it. And some cultures... He paused. Some see Kasir hunting as sacred. So they'd rather keep killing than admit they might be wrong? Doyen asked. Before Thrax could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights flashed. What's happening? Yunju asked, grabbing her tablet. We're under attack, Thrax said, rushing to the comm panel. All security teams to battle stations. On the screen, a message flashed. Emergency Council session convened. All Kasir research to be terminated. Specimen 2, be destroyed. Jiwoo saw the alarm lights in the holding bay. He quickly moved closer to Sonny, who had risen to its full height, plates flaring in agitation. It's okay, he said, knowing it wasn't true. Everything will be fine. The door to the holding bay slid open. Armed soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Step away from the Kasir, Lieutenant, ordered their leader. We have new orders from the Council. Jiwoo stood his ground. What orders? The specimen is to be terminated immediately. The Council considers this too dangerous to continue. Yunju and Doyen rushed in behind the soldiers. You can't do this, Yunju shouted. This is a scientific breakthrough. Stand down, science officer, the soldier said coldly. This comes from the highest authority. Sonny sensed the danger. Its body tensed, ready to fight, but instead of attacking, it moved in front of Jiwoo, placing its body between the human and the weapons. The soldiers hesitated, confused by what they were seeing. A Kasir protecting a human? It went against everything they knew. In that moment of confusion, the ship shook violently. A new alarm sounded, the distinctive warning of a hull breach. We're under attack. Commander Thrax's voice came over the comm system. All personnel to emergency positions. The universe, it seemed, wasn't finished throwing surprises at them. The horizon shook again as another blast hit its shields. Warning lights flashed everywhere. "Centaurian pirates," shouted Commander Thrax over the comm system. "They've disabled our main weapons." The soldiers in the holding bay looked at each other in confusion. Their orders to kill the Kasir now seemed less important than defending the ship. "We need to get to the escape pods," Captain Doyen said. "If the pirates board us, they'll take everything, including the Kasir." Jiwoo stood protectively beside Sunny. "They want to capture you," he explained to the creature, not sure how much it understood. "Bad people who will hurt you." Sunny's crystal plates shifted, making a sound like gentle rain on glass. Through Yunju's basic translator, the meaning came through. Danger, protect. "Yes, we need to protect ourselves," Jiwoo agreed. But Sunny wasn't talking about itself. The massive creature moved closer to Jiwoo, its body language clear even without the translator. It was placing itself between the humans and the door. "I think it's trying to protect us," Yunju said in amazement. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights went out, replaced seconds later by dim emergency lighting. "They've breached the hull on level 3, Thrax reported. "All security teams converge. Everyone else evacuate to the escape pods on level 5. Captain Doyen made a quick decision. "We go together, all of us, including the Kasir," the lead soldier objected. "Sir, our orders from the council." "The council isn't here," Doyen cut him off. "I am. And right now, surviving this pirate attack is more important than killing a creature that hasn't harmed anyone." Jiwoo nodded gratefully. He turned to Sunny and began to hum a quick, urgent tune. The Kasir responded with crystal sounds. "It understands we need to move," Jiwoo translated. The strange group, 3 humans, 4 soldiers, and a 12-foot Kasir, made their way through the corridors of the damaged ship. They could hear fighting in the distance. Occasionally, the ship would shake from another hit. They were almost to level 5 when they turned a corner and came face to face with 3 Centaurian pirates. The pirates were tall, 4-armed beings. With scaled skin, they carried energy weapons and wore battle armor covered in spikes. "Well, well," said the lead pirate, his voice a harsh growl. "What do we have here? Federation soldiers and a Kasir." His eyes gleamed with greed. "Do you know how much collectors will pay for a live Kasir specimen?" The soldiers raised their weapons, but the pirates were faster. A flash of energy, and 2 soldiers fell. The remaining soldiers pushed Doyun, Yunju, and Jiwoo behind them, but they were outmatched. Sunny let out a roar that shook the walls. Before anyone could react, the Kasir charged forward with incredible speed. The pirates fired, their energy weapons leaving black marks on Sunny's crystal plating. But the creature didn't slow down. What happened next happened so quickly that Jiwoo could hardly follow it. Sunny's massive claws slashed through the pirates, armor like it was paper. Within seconds, all 3 pirates were down. Sunny turned back to the humans, crystal plates shifting in patterns that Yunju's translator interpreted as, "Safe now. Follow." "Did it just save us?" one of the surviving soldiers asked, his voice shaking. "Yes," Jiwoo said simply. "Sunny protected us." They continued to the escape pods, meeting 2 more groups of pirates along the way. Each time, Sunny fought with a ferocity that reminded them why Kasir were feared throughout the galaxy. But the creature was careful, precise. It attacked the pirates but never the humans. When they finally reached the escape pods, they found Commander Thrax waiting with a group of survivors. "The ship is lost," Thrax said grimly. "The pirates disabled our engines and—" He stopped when he saw Sunny. His hand moved to his weapon. "The Kasir saved our lives," Captain Doyen said quickly. 3 times over. It protected us from the pirates. Thrax looked skeptical. A Kasir protecting humans, that's not possible. See for yourself, Yunju said, pointing to her tablet where she had recorded Sunny's actions. Before Thrax could respond, the ship's AI announced, "Warning, self-destruct sequence initiated, 10 minutes to core breach." The pirates must have triggered it hoping to force us to abandon ship, Thrax said. "We need to go now." They loaded into the escape pods. Fitting Sunny into one was a challenge, but they managed. As the small vessels launched away from the doomed horizon, Jiwoo looked out the viewport to see dozens of similar pods escaping. Behind them, the Federation battleship exploded in a ball of blue fire. "Where will we go?" Jiwoo asked as their pod's emergency beacon activated. "The closest Federation outpost is on Proxima 4, Thrax replied. 3 days away at the pod's top speed. Yunju was still working on her tablet. "I've been analyzing the data from our encounters with the pirates. Sunny didn't just attack randomly. It specifically targeted the pirates' weapons and vital points. That's tactical thinking." "Perhaps," Thrax admitted reluctantly. "But one friendly Kasir doesn't change centuries of history." "What if all Kasir could be like Sunny?" Jiwoo asked. "What if we've been fighting a war based on a misunderstanding?" 6 months passed. The small human settlement New Sol had been established on a fertile moon of Proxima 4. After the pirate attack and Sunny's actions to protect the humans, the Federation Council had reluctantly approved a research outpost to study Kasir-human interactions. What had started with one Kasir had grown. Now, 17 of the crystal creatures lived peacefully among the 200 human settlers. Each Kasir had bonded with a human who had learned to communicate through humming and singing. Jiwoo walked through the settlement, nodding to neighbors. Sunny followed behind him, now fully healed. The bond between them had grown stronger every day. "Lieutenant Jiwoo," called a voice. Choi Minho, the outpost's botanist, jogged up to him. "We've found a new plant species in the Eastern Valley. I think it might be edible." "That's great news," Jiwoo said. "Fresh food would be a welcome addition to their supplies." "I'm heading out to collect samples now," Minho said. "Want to come along?" Jiwoo agreed, and they set off toward the valley, Sunny following at a distance. The Kasir seemed to enjoy these expeditions, often finding interesting rocks or plants to show Jiwoo. The Eastern Valley was beautiful, filled with strange blue and purple plants unlike anything on Earth. Minho knelt to examine a bush with round, fruit-like growths. "These look promising," he said, taking out his sample kit. "High sugar content, no obvious toxins." As Minho worked, Jiwoo noticed Sunny growing restless. The Kasir's head tilted, its crystal plates vibrating in a pattern. Jiwoo had learned meant it sensed something. "What is it, Sunny?" he asked. Suddenly the ground near Minho erupted. Hundreds of small, insect-like creatures poured out, each the size of a human hand, with glowing stingers. "Venomous swarmers," Minho shouted, jumping back. "They're attracted to the fruit." The swarmers surrounded Minho, their stingers raised. One sting might not be fatal, but hundreds would be. Jiwoo rushed forward to help, but he was too far away. A blur of crystal moved past him. Sunny charged into the swarm, its plates shifting to cover its vulnerable areas. 2 other Kasir that had been exploring nearby joined the fight. The crystal creatures formed a protective circle around Minho, their claws swatting away the swarmers. With incredible precision, within minutes the swarm retreated back into the ground. Minho stood unharmed in the center of 3 Kasir, his eyes wide with shock. They saved me," he whispered. Jiwoo nodded. "They consider us part of their pack now. They protect their own." Word of the incident spread quickly through New Sol. While some settlers had remained wary of the Kasir, the story of how they had protected Minho changed many minds. That evening, the Federation survey ship Explorer arrived in orbit. On board was renowned xenobiologist Dr. Lee Jun, sent by the Council to evaluate the human Kasir situation. As Dr. Lee's shuttle landed, Jiwoo waited with Captain Doyon and Park Yunju. Sunny and 2 other Kasir stood behind them, their crystal bodies gleaming in the sunset. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Lee said as he stepped off the shuttle. His eyes were fixed on the Kasir. "When the council received your reports, many didn't believe them." "It's real," Yunju assured him. "We've documented everything. The Kasir aren't mindless killers. They have a complex social structure, and somehow humans have been accepted into it." Dr. Lee approached cautiously. Sunny watched him but made no threatening moves. "My theory," Dr. Lee said, "is that despite their fearsome appearance, Kasir have a pack mentality similar to Earth wolves. They're highly social and protective of their group." He looked at Jiwoo. "And you, Lieutenant, were somehow accepted as part of their pack. Then they extended that acceptance to other humans. They saved one of our people today," Doyen added. "Protected him from a swarm that would have killed him." Dr. Lee nodded thoughtfully. "The hunter becomes the protector? Fascinating." As night fell over New Seoul, the settlers gathered for their evening meal. The Kasir joined them, accepting offered food and responding to human songs with their crystal vibrations. What no one in the settlement knew was that their peaceful coexistence was about to face its greatest challenge. Far above, a ship approached. Not Federation, not pirates, but something far more dangerous. The true test of the human-Kasir bond was about to begin. Dawn broke over New Seoul as the unknown ship entered orbit. Its design was unfamiliar, sleek and black, with weapons clearly visible along its hull. Captain Kim Doyen received the alert in his quarters. He quickly called an emergency meeting with Lieutenant Han Jiwoo, Park Eunju, and Dr. Lee Jun. "They're not responding to our hails," Doyen said, showing them the scanner readings, "and they're not broadcasting any Federation identification codes." "Pirates again?" Jiwoo asked. Sunny stood nearby, sensing the tension in the room. The Kasir's crystal plates shifted with concern. "No," Dr. Lee said, studying the data. "This is a diplomatic vessel from Drakid space." Everyone fell silent. The Drakids were one of the species most devastated by Kasir attacks over the centuries. They had lost 3 colony worlds to the creatures and had sworn to eliminate all Kasir from the galaxy. Why would they come here? Yunju wondered. "Word of our settlement has spread," Doyun said grimly. "Not everyone in the Federation is happy about humans living peacefully with Kasir." Before they could discuss further, a message came through on the emergency channel. A harsh voice spoke. "Human Settlement New Seoul. This is Ambassador Krell of the Drakid Confederacy. You are harboring dangerous predators that have caused genocide across the galaxy. Surrender all Kasir specimens immediately or face consequences." "They can't just demand that," Jiwoo protested. "The Kasir are not our prisoners. They're living here by choice." Dr. Lee looked troubled. "The Drakids have a seat on the Federation Council. If they've come in an official capacity, then we need to handle this diplomatically," Doyun finished. He activated the comm system. "Ambassador Krell, this is Captain Kim Doyun of New Seoul. We welcome you to our settlement for peaceful discussions. Our Kasir companions pose no threat." There was a long pause before the reply came. "We will send a diplomatic shuttle. Prepare to receive us. Any sign of Kasir aggression will be met with immediate force." 2 hours later, a sleek black shuttle landed at the edge of New Seoul. From it emerged Ambassador Krell, a tall, thin being with gray skin covered in ceremonial scars. 4 Drakid guards accompanied him, each carrying weapons that Jiwoo recognized as specialized Kasir killers. Doyun, Jiwoo, Yunju, and Dr. Lee greeted them at the landing pad. Sunny and the other Kasir had been asked to stay in the community hall, though Jiwoo was unsure if they understood the seriousness of the situation. "Captain," Ambassador Krell said, his voice cold. His eyes scanned the settlement. "I see you've made quite a comfortable home alongside monsters." "They're not monsters, Ambassador," Doyen replied calmly. "We've lived peacefully with the Kasir for 6 months now. They've even protected us from threats." Krell's face showed no emotion. "You've been deceived. Kasir are natural hunters. They gain trust before they strike. My people learned this at the cost of millions of lives. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding, Dr. Lee suggested. Our research suggests that Khazir communicate through crystal vibrations that humans can hear and replicate. This may explain why we've been able to form a bond while other species couldn't. A convenient theory, Krell said dismissively. Now, where are these creatures being held? The council has ordered a full examination of all Khazir specimens. Jiwoo stepped forward. They're not specimens or prisoners. They're living beings with intelligence and feelings, and they're not being held anywhere. They choose to stay with us. Ambassador Krell's eyes narrowed. Your attachment to these killers is disturbing, Lieutenant. Perhaps you've forgotten that just 7 months ago a Khazir pack destroyed the Federation colony on Vega Prime. 2,000 dead. Families. Children. We're not denying that Khazir attacks have happened, Yeonju said. But what if those attacks were the result of misunderstanding or fear? What if they were defending themselves? Krell's patience was clearly wearing thin. Enough discussion. By authority of the Federation Council, I am here to collect all Khazir for proper containment and study. You will comply, or your settlement will be considered in violation of Federation law. Before anyone could respond, a commotion broke out at the edge of the landing area. 3 settlers were struggling to hold back Sunny, who had apparently followed them despite being asked to. Stay behind. The massive creature seemed agitated, its crystal plates flaring. The Drakid guards immediately raised their weapons. No! Jiwoo shouted, running toward Sunny. Don't shoot! It's not attacking! Sunny stopped when it saw Jiwoo. The crystal plates settled into a pattern that Yeonju's translator interpreted as danger. Protect friend. It's okay, Jiwoo said soothingly, beginning to hum the calming tune that always seemed to work. These are visitors, no danger. But Ambassador Krell had already seen enough. This proves my point. The creature is aggressive and dangerous. Guards, secure it for transport. Ambassador, please, Doyen tried, but Krell wasn't listening. 2. Guards approached Sunny, weapons ready. The Khazir backed away, crystal plates vibrating in distress. Jiwoo stood his ground between them. You'll have to go through me first, he said firmly. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Dr. Lee stepped forward. Ambassador, I propose a compromise. As a Federation xenobiologist, I request a formal hearing before the Council. Let these humans present their findings on Khazir behavior. Let the evidence speak for itself. Krell considered this. Finally, he nodded. A hearing. Very well. The Council will hear your case, but I require representatives to come to Federation headquarters immediately, and I insist that 1 Khazir specimen accompany us for direct observation. I'll go, Jiwoo volunteered instantly, and Sunny will come with me. I'll join you, Captain Doyen said, as the ranking officer of this settlement. Ambassador Krell seemed satisfied with this arrangement, though suspicion still lined his face. We depart in 1 hour. Be ready. 3 days later, Jiwoo found himself in the Grand Chamber of the Federation Council. The massive circular room held representatives from over 200 species, most of whom were looking at him and Captain Doyen with open hostility. Sunny had been placed in a special containment field at the center of the chamber. The Khazir remained calm, but Jiwoo could tell from its crystal patterns that it was uncomfortable. Ambassador Krell stood before the council, finishing his opening statement. And so I ask you, honored representatives, how can we trust these humans? They bring our ancient enemy into our midst and claim they have tamed them. This is either dangerous naivety or a deliberate deception. The head of the council, a wise old Zolarian named Supreme Counselor Vex, turned to Doyen and Jiwoo. You may now present your case, humans. Captain Doyen stepped forward. Honored Council, we come before you not as tamers or masters of the Khazir, but as friends who have discovered a profound misunderstanding. The Khazir are not mindless killers. They are intelligent beings with a complex society. Murmurs ran through the chamber, mostly skeptical, some angry. How did you accomplish what our most brilliant minds could not? Demanded the Drakid ambassador. What dark technology do you possess? No technology, Jiwoo explained. We just didn't approach them as monsters to be feared or weapons to be controlled. We shared our food, our shelter, and our songs. He went on to explain how humans could hear the crystal vibrations that formed Kasir communication, how humming created harmonic patterns they understood as friendly, and how once trust was established, the Kasir demonstrated protective behavior toward humans. Park Yunju's research data was displayed on the chamber's screens. Dr. Lee provided expert testimony supporting their findings, but many council members remained unconvinced. "This changes nothing," said the Zentari representative, a species that had fought Kasir for generations. "One docile specimen does not erase centuries of violence." "Perhaps both can be true," Jiwoo suggested. "Perhaps Kasir attack when threatened but coexist peacefully when approached without fear." As the debate grew heated, a commotion erupted. At the chamber entrance, a group of armed beings rushed in, not Federation security but mercenaries. They wore the insignia of the Black Star Guild, known for capturing exotic creatures for wealthy collectors. "Nobody move," shouted their leader, weapons aimed at the council. "We're here for the Kasir, worth a fortune on the black market." Guards moved to protect the council members. In the confusion, two mercenaries approached Sunny's containment field with a specialized transport device. "No!" Jiwoo shouted, running toward them. One mercenary turned and fired. The energy blast caught Jiwoo in the shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor. What happened next left the entire council chamber in stunned silence. Sunny, seeing Jiwoo injured, let out a roar that shattered the containment field. But instead of attacking randomly, the Kasir moved with purpose. It placed its massive body directly over Jiwoo, shielding him from further harm. Crystal plates extended to maximum coverage, creating a protective dome over the fallen human. From this defensive position, Sunny used its claws with surgical precision to disarm the nearest mercenaries without killing them. The Federation guards quickly neutralized the remaining intruders. When the danger passed, Sunny gently nudged Jiwoo, making soft crystal sounds of concern. The council chamber was utterly silent. Every representative had just witnessed what was previously thought impossible. A Kasir deliberately protecting a human, placing itself. 1 year had passed since the dramatic events in the Federation Council chamber. Lieutenant Han Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the starship Harmony, looking out at the green and blue planet below. The scar on his shoulder from the mercenaries' blast had healed, leaving only a faint mark to remind him of that day. "Ready to make history again?" Captain Kim Doyan asked, joining him at the viewport. Jiwoo nodded. "I still can't believe we're here." Here was the planet Viridian, site of the bloodiest Kasir conflict in Federation history. 30 years ago, a mining colony had been established here. Within months, a massive Kasir attack had killed all 5,000 colonists. Since then, the planet had been marked as forbidden territory. Now the Harmony orbited Viridian as the flagship of the Galactic Harmony Initiative, a joint human Kasir mission to establish peaceful contact with wild Kasir populations throughout the galaxy. Sunny stood behind them, now fully grown to an impressive 14 feet tall. Its crystal plating had developed rich, deep colors that shimmered in the ship's lighting. 5 other Kasir were also part of the crew, each bonded with a human partner. "Landing team to the shuttle bay," announced Park Yunju over the comm system, now chief science officer of the initiative. She had developed advanced translation technology that could interpret nearly 60% of Kasir crystal vibrations. As Jiwoo, Doyan, and Sunny made their way to the shuttle bay, crew members nodded, respectfully. What had once seemed impossible, humans and Kasir working side by side, was now becoming accepted throughout the Federation. The shuttle carried them down to the planet's surface, landing in a valley surrounded by tall, purple-leafed trees. The air was breathable but rich in minerals that made it taste slightly metallic. "According to the old mining records, the first Kasir attack happened just over that ridge," Doyan said, checking his tablet. Choi Minho, now the initiative's head botanist, scanned the surrounding plants. "There's something unusual about the soil composition here," he noted. "Extremely high concentrations of crystalline compounds." Yunju looked up from her instruments. "Similar to the composition of Kasir plating," she confirmed. Sunny and the other Kasir seemed on edge. Their crystal plates vibrated in patterns that the translators interpreted as home, sacred, careful. They sensed something important about this place, Jiwoo said. He began to hum a gentle, respectful melody that the Kasir had taught him for approaching new territories. The team moved carefully up the ridge. What they saw on the other side left them speechless. A vast valley stretched before them, its floor covered in crystalline formations that glowed with inner light. Hundreds of crystal structures rose from the ground in complex patterns, some small, others towering 30 feet high. "It's beautiful," whispered Yunju. "But what is it?" Sunny made a series of complex vibrations. The translator struggled, but managed. "Birthplace. New ones grow. Sacred ground." Jiwoo's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "It's a nursery," he said. "A Kasir breeding ground." Minho checked his scanner. The mining operation 30 years ago was cutting right through this valley. They must have been disrupting. They were destroying Kasir eggs. Doyen finished, his voice somber. The attack wasn't random violence, it was defense. As they watched, one of the crystal formations pulsed with light. Tiny cracks appeared on its surface. Something was hatching. "We should go," Yunju suggested nervously. "If adult Kasir find us near their young." But Sunny moved forward, making a gentle humming sound. The other Kasir joined in, creating a harmonic vibration that made the air itself seem to shimmer. From the trees at the far end of the valley, massive shapes emerged. Wild Kasir, at least 20 of them, each larger than Sunny. Their crystal plates were raised in obvious threat displays. "Don't move," Jiwoo whispered to the humans. "Let our Kasir handle this." Sunny stepped forward as the leader of their group. It made complex crystal sounds that the translators couldn't fully capture. The wild Kasir responded with similar sounds, slowly approaching. For several tense minutes, the two groups of Kasir communicated. Then, to everyone's amazement, the wild Kasir lowered their defensive plates. Sunny turned to Jiwoo and made a beckoning motion with one claw. "I think it wants me to approach," Jiwoo said. "Be careful," Doyen warned. Jiwoo walked slowly to Sunny's side. The massive Kasir placed one claw gently on Jiwoo's shoulder and faced the wild group. It made a series of sounds that the translator partially captured. "Friend, not enemy. Protects. Eggs. Understand song." The largest wild Kasir stepped forward. It studied Jiwoo with glowing eyes, then made a sound like wind through crystal caves. "I think it's asking for proof of friendship," Yunju suggested from behind them. Jiwoo took a deep breath and began to hum. Not the simple tunes he had first shared with Sunny, but a complex melody that the Kasir had taught him over the past year. A song about protection, respect, and harmony. The wild Kasir listened. Then, to everyone's shock, it began to hum back. A deeper, more resonant version of the same melody. "They're accepting you," Doyen said in amazement. Over the next few hours, a fragile trust formed. The humans were allowed to observe the hatching crystal formation from a respectful distance. The baby Kasir that emerged was barely the size of Jiwoo's hand, its crystal plates soft and translucent. Yunju worked with her scanner, gathering data but being careful not to disturb anything. "The crystal structures in the valley are crucial to Kasir reproduction," she explained later. "They absorb minerals from the soil to form new Kasir eggs. When the mining operation started cutting through here, they were killing unborn Kasir," Minho said sadly. "No wonder they attacked." Back on the Harmony, the team compiled their findings. Jiwoo wrote the official report himself. "The Kasir are not mindless killers. They are intelligent beings defending their young and their territories. The attacks on Federation colonies were not acts of aggression, but desperate attempts to protect their nurseries. The tragedy is that neither side could communicate their intentions. Until now." 3 months later, Jiwoo stood in the grand chamber of the Federation Council once more. This time, he wasn't alone. Captain Doyen, Park Yunju, Choi Minho, and Dr. Lee Jun stood with him. Sunny and 3 other Kasir also attended, no longer in containment fields but as honored guests. Supreme Counselor Vex addressed the packed chamber. Based on the findings of the Galactic Harmony Initiative, the Council has voted to establish the first Kasir-protected territory on Viridian. No mining or colonization will be permitted within the designated zones. Ambassador Krell of the Drakids, who had once been their greatest opponent, now stood to speak. His face showed the struggle of changing beliefs held for generations. "My people have feared and hated the Kasir for centuries," he said slowly. "We thought them monsters without reason or feeling. We were wrong." He turned to Jiwoo and Sunny. "It took humans, newcomers to the galactic community, to show us a better way." President Zalthos of the Federation stepped forward, holding a crystal medallion that caught the light in rainbow patterns. "Lieutenant Han Jiwoo, Captain Kim Do-yeon, and all members of the Harmony Initiative, I present you with the Order of Galactic Excellence." The President's voice carried throughout the chamber. "In just 2 years, humanity has transformed our understanding of a species we feared for 10,000 years. While we sought to conquer the stars through force, humans reminded us of a more powerful approach: patience, empathy, and the simple act of sharing a meal." Jiwoo accepted the medal with Sunny standing proudly beside him. The Kasir's crystal plates vibrated in a pattern now familiar to everyone present. Friend, family, peace. As the ceremony concluded, news arrived from New Seoul, another wild Kasir group had made peaceful contact with the settlement. Across the galaxy, similar reports were coming in. Where humans went, singing their songs of friendship, Kasir responded. Later, standing on the observation deck of the Federation headquarters, Jiwoo watched the stars with Sunny beside him. "We never set out to tame you," he said to his friend. "We just wanted to understand you." Sunny made a sound like gentle laughter, a crystal vibration that needed no translation. The most feared predator in the universe had not been tamed at all. It had simply been befriended. President Zalthos had said it best in the closing words of the ceremony. Perhaps humans were not just the tamers of the galaxy's most fearsome predator, but teachers to us all. They showed us that even the most terrifying enemy might simply be a friend we haven't learned to understand. Throughout the vast galaxy, on planets where humans and Kasir now worked together, a new era of harmony was beginning. All because one lost human had offered food, instead of fear to a creature everyone else saw as a monster. After all, wasn't that the most human thing to do? The end.